DevReady Podcast, where we're helping non-techs build better tech. Today, we're fortunate enough to be joined by Simon Kriss. He is the Chief AI Officer at simonkriss.com, and that's newly branded. So, Simon, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you coming on and talking all things AI in customer experience.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for having me on the show. Can I start by paying my respects to the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet and extend those respects to elders, past and present? It's great to be a part of your
I
podcast.
really appreciate you coming on. It's always good to talk about anything AI, especially it's a very hot and topical at the moment. In the world of customer experience, I think it's quite an intriguing conversation and how we put a machine in front of people and what your thoughts are on that. So let's dig in a little bit. First and foremost, who is Simon Kriss? Tell us a little bit about you.
So, thank you. I'm the Chief AI Officer. That's a title I've given myself for simonkriss.ai. So it really is just me, but instead of calling myself a founder or a CEO, I decided to go with Chief AI Officer. And I run strategic advisory. So I provide advice to governments and companies around how to start their AI journey, where to get going. I'm finding a lot of companies don't know where to start, and they're kind of in this fear of moving forward. I call it FOMF. Because AI is so big and so scary, and they've got 7 vendors each saying, let's do a proof of concept, but they don't know, is that the right use case? Is that the best use case? How should we do it? They just don't know enough to know what to ask. And so I wind up doing a lot early end of the AI journey.
That is very, very true. Speaking to many companies, small, medium, and large, and they're all a little bit stuck.
Yep.
They see AI out there, they understand ChatGPT, they're using that potentially, or they're exposed to that in some way, but they're not sure how they can really embed this in their business.
Yep.
It's clearly an area there's a gap. How do you go about it? So what's the first step when you walk into a business? What are we looking to achieve? How do we dig in and really understand where
Yeah,
they might
for
invest in a
sure.
POC?
Look, one of the first things we do is I think we need to recognize exactly what you just said. Is people are using tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Poe, whatever it is, to try and augment some of the tasks that they're doing. But because most companies don't have a position, or if they do have a position, it's a one page full of don't do this and don't do that, or they've blocked access to things like ChatGPT. People who are using this stuff, and we know statistically from reports that it's about 60% of office workers use a generative AI tool at least once a week. So they're using it, but they're hiding it. It's almost like it's in the naughty corner and they can't talk about it. And so
Is the question.
one of the first things we
Yes.
want to do is bring that out of the shadows and say generative AI has some great power. It brings great opportunities, but with those great opportunities come risks. And so first, let's explain the opportunities to you. So let's give them a list of 10 or 12 tasks that they could use AI to help them with, particularly generative. Let's give them some example prompts. Then let's talk about why the risks are important and what those risks are. And ethically, what does transparency mean in their environment? What does, fair and open and honest mean in their environment? That type of thing. And I even like to include a page full of prompting technique, just helping them. If they're going to use the tool, let's help them get the most out of it they can. So
That's fair because a lot of people don't know how to
they
get the
don't
most
know
out of
how,
it.
right?
Well,
They
they
just
don't spend
type in
time.
a one
Yeah,
line, give me
yeah,
a
that's
blah,
not going to
blah,
help.
blah, right?
Yeah,
Instead of
it'll
a
help, but it's very vague, general, and not going to get you
correct.
anywhere.
And
Basically, yeah.
so we'll often produce that as a document. It's maybe 5-6 pages. And that's kind of a good starting point because they can start to push that out across their entire organization. And then the second step is to get the leaders together in a room, make it a safe space for them to say, we don't understand AI or we don't know what it's capable of, and have like a 1-day deep immersive workshop where they get their hands dirty and they're doing things with tools. And for a lot of these people, it's starting their personal journey with AI. So how might they use it at home?
Very early. Yep.
And once they get their personal journey, then the work journey becomes a lot more obvious to them. The organizational journey becomes a lot more obvious. So if I can use it to generate bedtime stories for my kids or recipes in the kitchen, wait, hang on, I could use it to help me craft the beginning of that report I have to write, or it could help me, summarize these 15 reports that I've got, or, whatever that case may be. So it's about starting in those really basic places and just exposing that.
Yeah, brilliant. That's a really good place. I think anything new, fear pops up in a lot of people. It's new. They're not sure how it's going to work, or is there value in this? In organisations, one of the things that pops up is a lot of IP challenge. Where do you sit with that, and how do you encourage organisations to work with a product like ChatGPT with the IP consideration? What do you do there?
Yeah, so one of the tenets that we always give them is if you're using a public interface, that you never disclose company information. So ideally, you sanitize it, or you anonymize it. So if I'm working with Acme Bank and I'm getting 5 of their documents to put into a little bot, I'll go through and remove anything that says Acme and change it to some other name. I might still leave that it's a bank, because generative AI does know the difference between industries. Understands the difference between industries, but you try and anonymize it. And of course, you would never put any personally identifiable information in. That's the second one. Make sure you never use a real name, a real phone number, a real email address, any of that sort of stuff. And it's not that ChatGPT is going to regurgitate it verbatim, but if it does go into the training set, then it is sitting in the model somewhere, and parts of that could come back out. So we are on the side of caution. If they have, their own instance of OpenAI and a Microsoft Azure blob, and it's secure and all, and they're okay, you don't have to worry about it. But any public interface, sanitize and anonymize your information.
In terms of the Azure OpenAI private instances, how many organizations are you finding going down that path? Because it is a
very few, about as many that are doing Microsoft Copilot. I keep saying that AI is a little bit like teenage romance, right? Everybody's talking about it. Everybody thinks everybody else is doing it. The reality is very few are doing it, and those that are doing it, probably half of them are doing it wrong or doing it without protection. So it's still early days for generative AI. Yes, there's a lot of conversational AI out there in the CX space, but not a lot of generative AI. And so, people, it's okay to feel like, oh my God, everybody's getting it and we haven't started. The reality is the other people haven't started either.
It's very early still. Yeah, it's fascinating. Last year you wrote a book, The AI Experience.
Yeah, the AI empowered customer experience. And it's a little journey that takes people a little bit into what is AI. And I always tell technical people like yourself to maybe...
Well, I'm not as technical as you might think. We're probably in a similar vein. My business partner is the more technical than I am.
I tell technical people to close their eyes when they get to the how it works chapter, because I kind of explain it the way a business person would need to understand.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
a layperson.
And
then we kind of go into use cases, be they customer experience or customer facing, employee experience, and then just operational efficiency. And then there's some chapters on risks and ethics and further information and blah, blah, blah.
Well, the one that fascinates me is you've got to enlighten customer experience. How do you trust putting this technology in front of a customer? With the examples of Ford putting it in front of a chatbot and selling a car for $1 and all these things that have popped up. What are you advising there around putting it in front of a customer.
Yeah, look, some of those ones, and you know, the media loves a horror story. So, of course, the
Of
media
course.
jumps on, you know, it completely out of proportion. So, the recent Air Canada story where the bot told the guy that he could get a discount on a bereavement flight and it was wrong, you know, has been blown up. And that's partially because the legal argument was stupid. But how many times does a human call center worker tell a customer the wrong thing?
I'm sure plenty, but that's not on the news every 5 minutes, is
All
it?
the time. AI gets it right way more than humans do, but it blows it out of all proportion. What I did see with a lot of those horror stories where things went wrong, and there were things like the Savvy bot for Pack and Save in New Zealand that told somebody how to make chlorine gas and things like that, is that they went early and operating under FOMO, you know, that fear of missing out. They jumped in, and one of the first things they did was deploy a customer-facing application. Highly, highly dangerous strategy. I would never recommend it. I would rather see an organization deploy 4 or 5 things internally facing so that when they screw it up, not if, when they screw it up, the damage is minimal and the damage is done. And the problem isn't that they're not well planned and well executed. It's that trolls are out there purposely trying to get these things to do stuff they shouldn't because it makes sensationalized news. So if you're going to face this at a customer and you want to be able to trust it to do its job, first thing you do is get your staff to troll the crap out of it. Get them to get it to try and do every possible thing you wouldn't want it to do. Ask it to swear at you in every answer. Ask it an inversing question to try and get the response you want, even though it knows it shouldn't. Do all of these things around that and then release it. But you need to do a lot of work before, and particularly if you're a big brand that, you know, is going to get damaged easily by damage to your brand reputation. If you're Smith & Co. Auto Electrics in your local town, who cares? But if you're someone the size of Kmart, you really need to make sure that you're protecting that brand.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. I find it a little bit a high risk area to push it out to a customer. Where I'm seeing huge value is internally. There's a massive amount of opportunity internally, and what I see AI is it's really great at supporting skilled people to achieve an outcome. That's a great place for people to start. Forget about the customer for a minute. There's so much opportunity internally that we can find that can, like you said, de-risk it, understand the technology. You really know what you're in for, because I feel like if you go straight to customer, it's open to all sorts of problems and
Absolutely.
potential risks at that end, like you said.
And actually, a customer is going to prefer an AI-empowered human more than a fully AI function, right? Depending on what it is. If it's a very, very simple thing, yes, we want AI to just take it, but we more want an AI-empowered human. And I keep telling people, you know, most everybody on the planet has seen the movie Iron Man, whether they wanted to or they were dragged there. Everybody's kind of seen Iron Man. And that's exactly how AI is for workers. They're, you know, Iron Man, Mr. Stark, isn't a superhero until he gets in the suit where he has AI surrounding him, helping him process big gobs of data, make decisions, give him options. As the human, he still chooses which option to take, even against the advice of AI sometimes. But that's exactly what it should be like. We should be AI empowering the humans that we have to be more effective, more efficient, and to enjoy their job more. I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but I would imagine late in the year, early next year, particularly in entry-level jobs like contact centers and things, potential employees are going to be asking that as a question. Do you use AI in your workplace? And if you say no, they're going to say, well, why would I work for you? I can go to that place just down the road. They've got AI running and I don't have to do any of the grunt work. AI does it for me. So it's going to become a barrier to recruitment if you're not there.
I think barrier recruitment, but longevity in business is going to be a problem too. I recall years ago we were working out of an office in Essendon, and there was a greyhound paper that used to get released, and they never went digital, and eventually their business shriveled away. So they just released the greyhound papers, but that obviously has stopped with the world of digital.
Yep.
Yes, they could have done things differently if they picked up different technology, but they didn't. They didn't see what was coming. Same thing, I believe in AI. If we're not using it, you're not supporting your people the right way, your customers in the right way. You're so much more effective with AI and more efficient too. Quality's better, more efficient. One thing you said about people is we've been using AI religiously in our business ever since probably February, March, when we had a bright spark internally, and embedded it into some of our processes. And my business partner, who's really heavy-handed in product design, um, he just says he doesn't have the brain damage at the end of the day. He can actually work with AI, co-create with AI, and the value that he gets from it day to day is astronomical in terms of what he can deliver at the end of the day compared to what he used to be able to. So that Iron Man suit, tick on that because that's exactly what it is.
Yep. And that's what it should be. That's the way we should be thinking about it. Not job replacement, job augmentation. That's kind of the key message there.
So across your businesses, and the ones that are sort of reluctant to jump in, what are you finding is the reluctance? What's is it the fear of the unknown, or is it just not knowing where to start, or what's the
Yeah.
reluctance there?
So there's two things really. The first one is what I call Meno's paradox, right? Meno was around in the time of Socrates, and he kind of asked the question, he kind of said to Socrates, if I asked you just the right question, you could tell me everything I need to know about life. The problem is I don't know enough to know what the right question is. And that's exactly where a lot of business leaders are with AI today. They don't know enough to know if they're asking the right question or going down the right path. And so some of them are abdicating responsibility and giving it to the IT department, which is a stupid thing to do because AI is not about the IT department.
It's not about technology
It's
at all. It's
it's
about every other
about business
department.
need and solving the problem,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, it's very
correct.
easy to plumb in to the right tech stack. It's very easy to plumb in. So that's the first problem is they just don't know what to ask. It's a big, scary thing. The second one is that they are falling for either product hype, the hyperbole that the vendors are coming out with, or they're falling for the scaremongering that the media are doing, right? All of these chatbots are terrible. All of these chatbots are crashing. What a load of rubbish. It got one call wrong out of 100,000 calls that it handled that day. And so they kind of fall for that. And so, there's over the top worry about hallucination. Right. And as you know, and I
I've been
know,
using AI in our business, and I've never seen any
yeah,
hallucination in
and it
what
can
was
be
it at
controlled,
all.
right? We can
Yeah.
we can set the
So,
temperature,
yeah,
we can fine tune the model, we can
yeah,
use RAG. There's multiple ways to handle hallucination. In fact, the OpenAI is talking about that when their GPT-5 comes out, it won't hallucinate, right? So a hallucination can be controlled. The other one is data security. Oh, but everything I put into generative AI is going to wind up published on the internet. It's like, no, that's not what's going to happen. But they fall for this sensationalism. So those are the two things that I find most often are blocking organizations. One is just a lack of understanding. And then the second one is they're believing the bad press and or believing the hype. Once again, because they don't know enough to know how to question that, right?
yeah, got it. So it's really early. It's people are sort of stuck in the uncertainty right now, and then that means not moving, not making any decisions really. When
Correct.
you're uncertain, not clear, you really make very little decision,
And look,
or you just
I'd
make a
love to
silly
tell you
decision.
that
Yeah.
95% of my work is actually advisory work around implementation and blah, blah, blah. It's not. Probably 80% of what I'm doing is education, just getting organizations to understand what this is and how they would use it and how they would control it safely. So how do they do it safely and ethically? And probably 20% is actual advisory around implementing.
It's getting to the point of feeling comfortable with what the opportunity looks like, and de-risking it for them.
Yep.
And then, okay, now these are the opportunities we could
And
explore.
what is that first use case, right? Because the worst thing you can do is, I hear people talking about, we're going to kick off these 10 use cases. And I say to them, don't be insane. Kick off one use case. And the best use case is not always the most obvious, and the most obvious is not always the best. So it's really about understanding for this organization and their data structure and their tech stack and their business pain point, what is the best use case for them to go after, and then have them go after that. As I keep saying, you're not trying to build the Starship Enterprise here. You're not even trying to get a ride on Virgin Galactic. What you're trying to do is just shoot off a little bottle rocket. Those little firecrackers that you used to put in a Coke bottle. That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Start small, have a win, play with that, make your mistakes there, then start to step up and step up and step up.
I think, getting a win's positive, because we can blow this out of proportion. I think this is going to change every process in our business.
Yeah.
Reality is maybe one day it might, but think of it, like you said, as a little win. It gives a bit of a reflection. So little wins could be things like writing blogs, simple wins, right? People do them every day.
Monthly reporting.
Yeah.
So how many of us sit in front of a PC for 4 hours building 20 slides of information that nobody reads? Right. And we do it every month. It's our monthly report. And it's not just us doing it. Our direct reports do it and they feed it to us, and then we synthesize it and it goes up again.
40 hours of work for a monthly report.
Exactly. Yes. So why wouldn't you have generative AI look at the exact same data sources and do comparatives and all that sort of stuff and write you a report? And even if it's only 80% right, and the probability is over time it's going to be 98% right, but even if it's 80% right, all you're doing is topping and tailing. So we're using you for the most efficient use of your time, not sitting there building slides that nobody ever reads. Just that one simple little thing is such an efficiency win. Or in a contact center, at the end of a chat or the end of a call, summarizing what happened and loading that into CRM. It is the bane of the existence of call center agents. They hate it because it's so boring.
And you'll get it in. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah.
And you'll get call center agent A that writes 2 words and call center agent B that writes War and Peace. If you start having generative AI do it, you're going to get a more consistent set of information going into your systems, which means that your data analysis later is better because you know that that information's in there. So it's small wins, but they can be quite sizable in impact.
Yeah, but taking out those particular things that people don't enjoy doing is a massive win. People think it's a small win, but having, all right, here's a summary, quick squiz. Yep, that's right. Oh, forgot this, because it may not capture something that's important to the person or believe that it's important.
Yep.
That's a huge win, because I know I sit in a CRM and I don't like putting stuff in there, but you got to put it in there, otherwise you forget what happened last week. Yep. Yeah, so it's not a joyful process for anybody.
Absolutely.
And if it's, that's simple wins, but it will make your workplace more effective, happier in the day-to-day. So that's a big win in my mind. So Simon, what inspires you about AI? I think what has driven you to go down, okay, I'm going to be the chief AI officer. I'm going to drive this into organizations. What ticks the box for you?
What ticks the box for me is taking away the stuff that humans don't want to do, right? We're a convenience-based life form where everything is about convenience. Why do we have drive-throughs? Well, because they're convenient. Why do we have home delivery? Because it's convenient. I don't have to get off the couch. That's why Uber Eats has made billions of dollars. We're looking for convenience, and this is another tool that can help make our life convenient. It can help make our life enriched. Like, people talk about, the job losses of AI, which, by the way, we've seen before. The advent of electricity, the
Yeah,
advent of the
everything had a
steam
tool. Yeah,
engine,
every new
the
technology. Yeah,
invention of
it's
the
just
internet, they all took jobs away but created new ones.
yeah, correct.
Put that aside. Imagine if your organization became way more efficient, and instead of laying off 1/4 of your staff, everybody in the company went to a 4-day week with a 3-day weekend. What if that became a 3-day week with a 4-day weekend, and we could start living as humans again, spending time with the kids, getting to the gym, which we've been promising ourselves for 5 years we're going to do. Whatever it is, but we're spending more of our time in a more balanced lifestyle. And I believe AI has the ability to transform industries, transform companies, and in doing so, transform entire cultures into being way. And that's what really excites me about this. It's not, the little win that little win for me is a step towards a much bigger win. Now, will every company do that? Of course not, right? The shareholders want their pound of flesh. The CFO wants to give the shareholders what they want. So the CFO sees an opportunity to pull cost out of the business. Okay, I kind of get that. But over time, as we start to do this, company boards should be talking to shareholders about the other value that can be derived besides just straight cost. And a great example would be, in the contact center industry, we have these things, BPOs, business process outsourcers. In the past, you would know that as an Indian-based call center or a Philippines-based call center, right? And the reason that we moved the work there is because it's way lower cost. Those businesses have incredibly high turnover. Like, think about 10% of their staff every month turning over.
Crazy turnover. So how do you educate these people and keep them moving?
So what if instead of having that turnover, you AI empowered these people's lives, you took away all of the crap work they have to do, and you moved them to a 4-day week but still on a 5-day pay? You would still be cheaper than Australia, but your turnover would go from 10% to 1% overnight. And in doing so, you're saving cost, but you're saving cost and delivering employee benefit at the same time, right? So people keep trying to take AI and overlay the current way of thinking about business. What they have to stop doing that, because generative AI in particular is so transformative that it's going to change the business model, not just make the current business model better.
It's a fascinating point because we're a lot of organizations, and the bigger we get, we're all about incremental improvement, but we're not about transforming the business operation. I've been around large organizations and I've heard about let's change the business model and the way we charge, and 10 years later, nothing's changed. They're still
Nothing's
doing the
changed.
things the way they used to, because they know that and they've got huge value from that. They've done it for years and it's just the way business is. Do you feel like there's a even bigger opportunity for small, medium businesses to really transform industries right now? Because I feel
Absolutely.
that's where the opportunity sits, and I'm excited by that more than corporate top end of town. Because I've been in corporate top end of town conversations around AI implementation. Yes, we're going to do something, and it's been 18 months, and they still haven't done anything.
So
And at the
think
small end, you've got people trying things, prototyping
correct,
things,
much
making
more
huge.
innovative
Yeah,
because they can be, right?
can be
They're nimble.
correct. Yeah.
And think about a big law firm in the middle of town. They've got an office in the Paris end of Collins Street. And sorry to the non-Melbourne listeners. And they employ 30 young staff to do things like read documents, generate documents, blah, blah, blah. You now could have a little suburban lawyer who only has a team of 2 or 3, but is using generative AI to read all those documents, to pull out the key points, even to the point of, imagine a generative AI avatar doing the initial interview with a new client to find out what it is that they want, summarizing that and giving it to the lawyer, so that when the lawyer does sit down with them, it's not tell me your life story and it turns into 3 billable hours, but it's, okay, we're here to talk about this.
Yes.
And I need to know this and this and this. So it's one of those tools that has the capability, the opportunity to level up small businesses, to take on big businesses. And to your point, if it's a big business that can't or won't innovate, and there's a big difference between those two, if it's a big business that can't or won't innovate, then these small and medium businesses are absolutely going to crucify them using the power of AI sitting in behind them to do a lot of that really basic work.
Yeah, it's a fascinating time we're walking into. It's exciting, and we've been on this little ride for a little while, as you have, and
Yeah,
I just see it getting more and more exponential in terms of what people are doing with this technology
absolutely.
and the output. Simon, if anyone wants to reach out, learn a little bit more, maybe get educated on AI, how do they reach you?
They can go to my website, simonkriss.ai, or the easier way is find me on LinkedIn. It turns out I'm the only Simon Kriss on LinkedIn. That's KRISS. But yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I'm always up for a chat, always happy to jump on a call, give advice, talk things through. I think we're all on a learning journey here, so it's kind of incumbent upon any of us that have an inkling of understanding around what this tech is and can do to kind of share that with everybody. So always happy to do it.
Brilliant, Simon. Thanks for joining us on the DevReady Podcast. Let's catch up again in 6 months, because I know everything would have changed and there'll be some great case studies maybe we can dig in more on. So really appreciate you taking the time today.
No problem. Thank you, Andrew. And in 6 months, it'll probably be both of our avatars meeting and we'll still be in bed. So.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.